Hello? Hi, Sam. Good afternoon. I'm back. Ready to read more of The Amazing Maurice and His Educated Rodents. We're on Chapter 7. Chapter 7, like all of the chapters in this book, everything, forever and ever, is all yours because you're the best, Sam. Oh, Sam Ptarmigan. We're opening with a quote from Mr. Bunsey Has an Adventure. And because of Ollie the Snake's trick with the road sign, Mr. Bunsey did not know that he had lost his way. He wasn't going to Howard the Stoat's tea party. He was heading into the dark wood. Oh no! Also, I love stoats. I think they're super cute. One of my favorite animals. All right, you ready to go in the dark wood here? Oh God, where did Keith go? I assume that's the dark wood. Oh, I don't know. It could be both the plots that are unfolding. Maurice looked at the open trapdoor as if giving it points out of 10. Quite well hidden, she said. No wonder we didn't see it. I'm not hurt much, Keith called up from the darkness. Good, said Maurice, still inspecting the trapdoor. How far down are you? It's some sort of cellar. I'm okay because I landed on some sacks. All right, no need to go on about it. This wouldn't be an adventure if there weren't some minor hazards, said the girl to other people. Here's the top of a ladder. Why don't you use it? I was unable to on account of falling past, said the voice of Keith. That's a good reason why. Shall I carry you down? Said Maurice to Maurice. Shall I scratch your eyes out? Said Maurice. Mauricia's brow wrinkled. She always looked annoyed when she didn't understand something. Was that sarcasm? She asked. That was a suggestion, said Maurice. I don't do picking up by strangers. You go down, I'll follow. But you haven't got the legs for ladders. Do I make personal remarks about your legs? Maurice descended into the dark. There was a metallic noise, and then the flare of a match. It's full of sacks, said Maurice. I know, came the voice of Keith. I landed on them, I did say. It's grain. And what? This is not what I expected. There's strings and strings of sausages. There's smoked meat, bins of vegetables. It's full of food. Get out of my care. Get off. The cat just jumped onto my head. Well, I mean, you wear a bandage, from your head and then to the floor. Maurice is a cat. Maurice leaped off her and onto some sacks. Ha, said Maurice, rubbing her head. We were told that the rats had got it all. I see it all now. The rat catchers get everywhere. They know all the sewers, all the cellars, and to think those thieves got paid out of our taxes. So, artificially... But why create a lack of food to prove that the rats were... Oh, I feel like I'm so close, but I don't quite get it. Maurice looked around the cellar, lit by the flickering lantern in Mauricia's hand. There was indeed a lot of food. Nets hanging from the ceiling were indeed stuffed with big, white, heavy cabbages. The aforesaid sausages did indeed loop from beam to beam. There were indeed jars and barrels and sacks. And indeed they all worried him. That's it then, said Maurice. What a hiding place. We're going to go right away to the town watch and report what we found. And then it's a big bang-up tea with cream buns all around and possibly a medal, and then... I'm suspicious, said Maurice. Yes, agreed. I'm suspicious too. Why? Because I'm a suspicious character. I wouldn't trust your rat catchers if they told me the sky was blue. What have they been doing? Pinching the food and then saying it was the rats. Honest? And everyone believed them? No, stupid. People have found gnawed bones and empty egg baskets, that sort of thing, said Maurice, and rat droppings all over the place. I suppose you could scratch the bones, and I suppose rat catchers could shovel up a lot of rat droppings, Maurice conceded. And they're killing all the rats, real rats, so that there's more for them, said Maurice triumphantly. Very clever. Yeah, and that's a bit puzzling, said Maurice, because we've met your rat catchers, and frankly, if it was raining meatballs, they wouldn't be able to find a fork. I'm getting answers, and it's not helping. It's not helping at all, Sam. I don't get it. I'm thinking about something, said Keith, who had been humming to himself. Well, I'm glad someone is, Maurice began. It's about wire netting, said Keith. There was wire netting in the shed. Is this important? Why do rat catchers need rolls of wire netting? Well, how should I know? Cages, maybe? Does it matter? Why would rat catchers put rats in cages? Dead rats don't run away, do they? There was silence. Maurice could see that Maurice was not happy about that comment. It was an unnecessary complication. It spoiled the story. I may be stupid looking, Keith added, but I'm not stupid. I have time to think about things because I don't keep on talking all the time. Oh, shit. I look at things. I listen. I try to learn. I don't talk all the time. Oh, Lord. You talk quite a bit, Maurice. As someone who talks a lot, you do. Because I do too. Maurice let them argue and stalked away into the corner of the cellar. Or cellars. They seemed to go on a long way. He saw something streak across the floor in the shadows and leaped before he could think. His stomach remembered that it had been a long time since the mouse, and it connected itself straight to his legs. All right, he said, as the thing squirmed in his paws. Speak up, or... A small stick hit him very sharply. Do you mind, said Sardines, struggling to get up. There's no need to be like that, muttered Maurice, trying to lick his smarting nose. I've got a curricle... I tried with that word. Hat on, right? Snapped Sardines. Do you ever bother to look? All right, sorry. Why are you here? Sardines brushed himself off. Looking for you or the stupid-looking kid, he said. Ham and Pork sent me. We're in trouble now. You just won't believe what we found. Well, he might, considering what he just found. Excuse me. He wants me, said Maurice. I thought he didn't like me. Well, he said it's nasty and evil, so you'd know what to do, boss, said Sardines, picking up his hat. Look at that, will you? Your claw went right through it. But I did ask if you could talk, didn't I, said Maurice. Yes, you did, but I always ask. I know, so I'm very definite about asking, you know. Yes, you've made your point. I believe you, said Sardines. I only complained about the hat. I'd hate anyone to think I don't ask, said Maurice. There's no need to go on and on about it, said Sardines. Where's the kid? Back there, talking to the girl, said Maurice sulkily. What, the mad one? That's her. You'd better get them. This is seriously evil. There's a door at the other end of these cellars. I'm amazed you can't smell it from here. What the fuck is going on? I'd just like everyone to be clear that I asked. That's all. Boss, said Sardines. This is serious. What would they be able to smell? That's so... Oh, God. Peaches and Dangerous Beans waited for the exploration party. They were with Toxie, another young male rat who was good at reading and acted as a kind of assistant. Peaches had also brought Mr. Bunsey has an adventure. They've been gone a long time, said Toxie. Darktan checks every step, said Peaches. Something's wrong, said Dangerous Beans. His nose wrinkled. A rat scurried down the tunnel and pushed frantically past them. Dangerous Beans sniffed the air. Fear, he said. Why? 3 more rats scrambled past him, knocking him over. What's happening? Asked Peaches. As another rat spun her around in an effort to get past, it squeaked at her and rushed on. Excuse me. That was finest, she said. Why didn't she say anything? More fear, said Dangerous Beans. They're scared, terrified. Toxie tried to stop the next rat. She bit him and ran on, chittering. We must go back, said Peaches urgently. What have they found up there? Maybe it's a ferret. It can't be, said Toxie. Ham and Pork killed a ferret once. 3 more rats ran past, trailing Fear behind them. One of them squealed at Peaches, gibbered madly at Dangerous Beans, and ran on. Oh no, they've forgotten how to talk, whispered Dangerous Beans. Something terrible must have frightened them, said Peaches, snatching up her notes. They've never been that frightened, said Toxie. Remember when that dog found us? We were all frightened, but we talked and we trapped it, and Ham and Pork saw it off whimpering. To her shock, Peaches saw that Dangerous Beans was crying. They've forgotten how to talk. Oh my God! Half a dozen more rats pushed their way past screeching. Peaches tried to stop one, but she just squeaked at her and dodged out of the way. That was Feeds 4. That is a great name, she said, turning to Toxie. I was talking to her only an hour ago. Toxie's fur was bristling. His eyes were unfocused. His mouth was open, showing his teeth. He stared at her, or right through her, and then turned and ran. She turned and put her paws around Dangerous Beans as the fear swept over them. Oh, what is going on? All right. What is going on, Sam? There were rats. From wall to wall, floor to ceiling, there were rats. What the fuck? The cages were crammed with them. They clung to the wire in front and to roofs. The netting strained with the weight. Glistening bodies boiled and tumbled, paws and noses thrusting through the holes. The air was solid with squeaking and rustling and chittering, and it stank. What was left of Ham and Pork's exploration party was clustered in the middle of the room. Most of it had fled by now. If the smells in that room had been sounds, they would have been shouts and screams, thousands of them. This book is kind of horrifying. They filled the long room with a strange kind of pressure. Even Maurice could feel it. As soon as Keith opened the door, it was like a headache outside your head, trying to get in. It banged on the ears. Maurice was staying a little way behind. You didn't need to be very clever to see this was a bad situation, one that might need some running away from at any time. He saw, between Militia and Keith's legs, Dark Tan and Ham and Pork and a few other changelings. They were in the middle of the floor looking up at the cages. He was amazed to see that even Ham and Pork was trembling, but he was trembling with rage. "Let them out," he shouted up to Keith. "Let them all out. Let them all out now." "Another talking rat," said Militia. "Let them out," Ham and Pork screamed. "All those foul cages," said Militia, staring. "I did say about the wire netting," said Keith. "Look, you can see where it's been repaired. They gnawed through wire to escape." "I said let them out," screamed Ham and Pork. "Let them out or I will kill you. Evil, evil, evil." "Oh, man. But they're just rats," said Militia. Ham and Pork leaped and landed on the girl's waist. He swarmed up toward her neck. She froze. He hissed, "There are rats eating one another in there. I will gnaw you, you evil..." Keith's hand grasped him firmly around the waist and pulled him off her neck. Screeching, hair bristling, Ham and Pork sank his teeth into Keith's finger. Militia gasped. Even Maurice winced. Ham and Pork drew his head back, blood dripping from his muzzle, and blinked in horror. Tears welled up in Keith's eyes. Very carefully, he put Ham and Pork down on the floor. "It's the smell," he said quietly. "It upsets them." I thought you said they were tame," said Militia, able to speak at last. She picked up a lump of wood that was leaning against the cages. Keith knocked it out of her hand. "Never, ever threaten one of us. He attacked you. Look around. This is not a story. This is real. Do you understand? They're frightened out of their minds." "How dare you talk to me like that?" Militia shouted. I don't... Will? One of us, eh? Was that a rat swear word? Do you even swear in rat boy? Just like cats, Maurice thought. You stand face to face and scream at each other. His ears swiveled as he heard another sound in the distance. "Oh, no. No! Oh! One thing at a time, please!" Someone was coming down the ladder. Maurice knew from experience that this was no time to talk to humans. They always said things like, "What?" and "That's not right," or "Where?" "Get out of here right now," he said as he ran past Dark Tan. "Don't get human about it, just run." And that was quite enough heroism, he decided. It didn't pay to let other people actually slow you down. There was a rusty old drain set into the wall. He skidded on the slimy floor as he changed direction, and there, yes, was a Morris-sized hole where a bar had rusted clean away. Paws scrabbling for speed, he darted through the hole just as the rat catchers entered the room of cages. What about the key? Oh, God! Then, safe in the darkness, he turned around and peered out. Time to check. Was Morris safe? All legs present? Tail? Yes? Good. He could see Dark Tan tugging at Ham and Pork, who seemed to have frozen on the spot, the others scuttling toward another drain in the opposite wall. They moved unsteadily. That's what happens when you let yourself go, Maurice thought. They think they're educated, but in a tight corner, a rat is just a rat. Now me, I'm different. Brain functioning perfectly at all times, always on the lookout, on the case, and sniffing bottom. The caged rats were making a din. Keith and the storytelling girl were watching the rat catchers in amazement. The rat catchers weren't unamazed either. What the fuck is going on? On the floor, Dark Tan gave up trying to get Ham and Pork to move. He drew his sword, looked up at the humans, hesitated, and then ran for the drain. Yes, let them sort it out. They're all human, Maurice thought. They've got big brains, they can talk. Should be no problem at all. Oh, it's going to be a million problems. Sam, a million! I'm guessing the rat catchers will not be too pleased that someone has discovered this. Ha! Tell them a story, storytelling girl. Rat catcher 1 stared at Militia and Keith. What are you doing here, miss? He said, his voice creaking with suspicion. Playing mummies and daddies, said Rat Catcher 2 cheerfully. You broke into our shed, said Rat Catcher 1. That's called breaking in, that is. You've been stealing, yes, stealing food and blaming it on rats, snapped Alicia. And why have you got all these rats caged up in here? And what about the aglets, eh? Surprised, eh? Didn't think anyone would notice them, eh? Aglets? Said Ratcatcher 1, his brow wrinkling. The little bits on the end of bootlaces, mumbled Keith. Ratcatcher 1 spun around. You bloody idiot, Bill. I said we had enough real ones. I told you someone would notice. Didn't I tell you someone would notice? Someone noticed! Yeah, don't think you've got away with anything, said Militia. They kind of have. They kind of will, probably. Her eyes were gleaming. I know you're the only humorous thugs. I know you're only the humorous thugs. One big fat one, one thin one. It's obvious. So who's the big boss? Excuse me. Ratcatcher One's eyes glazed slightly, as they often did when Militia talked at people. He waved a fat finger at her. You know what your father's been and gone and done just now? He asked. Ah, humorous thug talk, said Militia triumphantly. Do go on. He's been and gone and sent off for the rat piper, said Ratcatcher 2. He costs a fortune, $300 a town, and if you don't pay up, he gets really mean. Oh, dear, thought Maurice. Someone's been and gone and sent for the real one? $300. $300? $300? We only charge $30. It's you, isn't it? Said Ratcatcher 1, waving his finger at Keith. The stupid-looking kid. You turn up, and suddenly there's all these new rats around. There's something I don't like about you. You and your funny-looking cat. If I see that funny-looking cat again, I'm going to have mittens. Or it's going to have mittens, excuse me. In the darkness of the drain, Maurice shrank back. Said Ratcatcher 2. He probably studied to get a thug laugh like that, Maurice thought. And we don't have a boss, said Ratcatcher 1. Yeah, we're our own boss. Oh boy, we are our own bosses, said Ratcatcher 2. And then, at this point, not other points, the story went wrong. Oh boy. And you, miss, said Ratcatcher 1, turning to Militia, are too mouthy by half. He swung his fist, lifting her off her feet and slamming her against the rat cages. The rats went mad, and the cages boiled with frantic activity as she slumped to the ground. The Ratcatcher turned to Keith. You going to try anything, kid? He said. You going to try anything? She was a girl, so I was nice and kind, but you, I'll put in one of the cages. Yeah, they ain't been fed today, said a delighted Ratcatcher 2. Go on, kid, Maurice thought. Do something. But Keith just sat there, staring at the man. Ratcatcher 1 looked him up and down, scornfully. What's that you got there, boy? A pipe? Give it here. The pipe was grabbed from Keith's belt, and he was pushed onto the floor. A penny whistle. Think you're the rat piper, do you? Ratcatcher 1 snapped the pipe in two. Ah! And tossed the bits aside. Fuck, now I didn't like the Ratcatchers anyway, but now I especially hate them. You know, they say that over in pork rinds, I love how that's spelled, the rat piper let all the kids out of the town. Now there was a man with the right idea. Keith looked up. His eyes narrowed. He got to his feet. Here it comes, thought Maurice. He's going to leap forward with superhuman strength because he's so angry and they're going to wish they'd never been born. Keith leaped forward with ordinary human strength, landed one punch on Ratcatcher 1, and was smacked to the floor again by a big, brutal sledgehammer blow. That sucks. Oh, fuck the Ratcatchers, though. All right. He got knocked down, thought Maurice as Keith struggled for breath. But he's going to get up again. There was a shrill scream, and Maurice thought, aha! But the scream hadn't come from the wheezing Keith. A gray figure had launched itself from the top of the rat cages right at the Ratcatcher's face. It landed teeth first, and blood spurted on the Ratcatcher's nose. Aha, thought Maurice again. It's Ham and Pork to the rescue. What? Mrilp. I'm thinking like the girl. I keep thinking it's a story. I mean, everything's a story. The Ratcatcher grabbed at the rat and held him out at arm's length by his tail. Ham and Pork twisted and turned, squealing with rage. His captor dabbed at his nose with his spare hand and stared at Ham and Pork as he struggled. He's a bit of a fighter, said Ratcatcher 2. How'd he get out? Not one of ours, said Ratcatcher 1. He's a red. Red? What's red about him? A red rat's a kind of gray rat, as you would very well know if you were an experienced guild member like me, said the Ratcatcher. They ain't local. Get 'em down on the plains. Funny to find one up here. Very funny. Greasy old devil, too, but game as anything. Your nose is all runny? Your nose is all runny? Yeah, what? Yeah, I know. I've had more rat bites than you've had hot dinners. I don't feel them anymore, said Ratcatcher 1, in a voice that suggested that the spinning, screeching Ham and Pork was a lot more interesting than his colleague. I only have cold sausage for dinner. There you are, then. What a little fighter you are, to be sure. Real little devil, aren't you? Plucky as anything. Kind of you to say so. I was talking to the rat, mister. The Ratcatcher prodded Keith with his boot. Go and tie up these two somewhere, okay? We'll put them in one of the other cellars for now. One with a proper door, and a proper lock, and no handy little trapdoors. And you give me the key. She's the mayor's daughter, said Ratcatcher 2. Mayors can get really upset about daughters. That is a strange sentence. Excuse me. Then he'll do what he's told, right? You gonna give that rat a good squeezing? What, a fighter like this one? Are you joking? It's thinking like that'll keep you a rat catcher's assistant your whole life. I've got a much better idea. How many's in the special cage? Maurice watched Ratcatcher 2 go and examine one of the other cages on the far wall. Only 2 rats left. They've eaten the other 4, he reported. Just skin left. Very neat. Oh, so they'll be full of vim and vinegar. Well, we'll see what they do to him, shall we? This is horrifying. What is this book? Maurice heard a little wire door open and shut. Hammond Pork was seeing red. It filled his vision. He'd been angry for months down inside. Angry at humans, angry at the poisons and the traps, angry at the way younger rats weren't showing respect, angry that the world was changing so fast, angry that he was growing old. And now the smells of terror and hunger and violence met the anger coming the other way, and they mingled and flowed through Hammond Pork in a great red river of rage. He was a cornered rat. But he was a cornered rat who could think. He'd always been a vicious fighter, long before this was all his thinking. Or there was all this thinking, and he was still very young. A couple of dumb, swanking young kikis with no tactics and no experience of down and dirty cellar fighting, and no fancy footwork and no thoughts were simply not a test. A tumble, a twist, and 2 bites were all it took. The caged rats across the room leaped back from the netting. Even they could feel the fury. Now there's a clever boy, said Ratcatcher 1 admiringly when it was all over. I've got a use for you, my lad. Not the pit, said Ratcatcher 2. Yes, the pit. Tonight? Yes, 'cause Fancy Arthur's putting in his Jacko on a bet to kill 100 rats in less than a quarter of an hour. What? I bet he can too. Jacko's a good terrier. He did 90 a few months ago, and Fancy Arthur's been training him up. Should be a good show. What? So, okay, they collected the rats for like a gambling ring thing? Sam, what the fuck is going... You'd bet on Jacko doing it, would you? Said Ratcatcher 1. Sure, everyone will be. Even with our little friend here among the rats, said Ratcatcher 1, full of lovely spite and bite and boiling bile. Well, yeah, right. Ratcatcher 1 grinned. I don't like leaving those kids here, though. It's not them kids, not those kids. Get it right. How many times have I told you? Rule 27 of the guild. Sound stupid. People get suspicious of rat catchers who talk too good. Sorry. Talk thick. Be clever. That's the way to do it, said Ratcatcher 1. Sorry, I forgot. You tend to do it the other way around. Sorry, them kids. It's cruel tying people up. And they're only kids after all. So, it'd be a lot easier to take them down the tunnel to the river and hit them on the head and throw them in. They'll be miles downriver before anyone fishes them out. They probably won't even be recognizable by the time the fish have finished with them. Maurice heard a pause in the conversation. Ratcatcher 1 said, I didn't know you were such a kind-hearted soul, Bill. Right, and sorry. And I've got an idea about getting rid of that rat piper when he comes to town. The next voice came from everywhere. It sounded like rushing wind, and in the heart of the wind, like the groan of something in agony. What? It filled the air. No, we can use the piper. Who is that? How is there a voice speaking here without a person attached to it? No, we can use the piper, said Ratcatcher 1. That's right, said Ratcatcher 2. I was just thinking the same thing. How can we use the piper? Once again, Maurice heard a sound like wind blowing through a cave, but it seemed to be in his head rather than the air. Isn't it obvious? Isn't it obvious, said Ratcatcher 1. Are those thoughts being put in Ratcatcher 1's head? Can they all hear them? What is happening? Yeah, obvious, muttered Ratcatcher 2. Obviously it's obvious. Maurice watched the Ratcatcher open several of the cages, grab rats, and drop them into his sack. He saw Hammond Pork tipped into one, too. And then the Ratcatchers had gone, dragging the other humans with them, and Maurice wondered where in this maze of cellars is a Maurice-sized hole. Cats can't see in the dark. What they can do is see by very little light. A tiny scrap of moonlight was filtering into the space behind him. It was coming through a tiny hole in the ceiling, barely big enough for a mouse, and certainly not big enough for a Maurice, even if he could reach it. It illuminated another cellar. By the looks of it, the Ratcatchers used this one too. There were a few broken barrels stacked in one corner and a few piles of broken rat cages. Maurice prowled around it, looking for another way out. There were doors, but they had handles, and even his mighty brain couldn't figure out the mystery of doorknobs. There was another drain grating in a wall. He squeezed through it. Another cellar, and more boxes and sacks. At least it was dry, though. A voice, behind him said, "What kind of thing are you?" "Nope, what is that? I don't like, Mm-mm. I don't like this voice thing and I don't get it." He spun around. All he could make out were boxes and sacks. The air still stank of rats, and there was the continuous rustling and the occasional faint squeak, but the place was a little piece of heaven compared to the hell of that cage room. The voice had come from behind him, hadn't it? He must have heard it, mustn't he? Because it seemed to him that he just had something like the memory of hearing a voice, something that had arrived in his head without bothering to go through his ragged ears. It had been the same with the rat catchers. They talked as if they'd heard a voice and thought it was their own thoughts. The voice hadn't really been there, had it? "Oh, boy. I can't see you," said the memory. "I don't know what you are." It was not a good voice for a memory to have. It was all hisses, and it slid into the mind like a knife. "Oh, God. Come closer." "Don't. How about you don't? Maybe don't do that." Maurice's paws twitched. The muscles in his legs started to push him forward. He extended his claws and got control of himself. Someone was hiding amongst the boxes. God, I messed that up, sorry. Someone was hiding amongst the boxes, he thought, and it would probably not be a good idea to say anything. People could get funny about talking cats. You couldn't rely on everyone being as mad as the storytelling girl. Come closer. The voice seemed to pull at him. He'd have to say something. "I'm happy where I am, thank you," said Maurice. "Then will you share our pain?" I don't understand. I don't get it, Sam." That last word hurt, but it did not, and this was surprising, hurt a lot. The voice had sounded sharp and loud and dramatic, as if the owner was keen to see Maurice rolling in agony. Instead, it gave him a very brief headache. "What kind of creature are you? Your mind is wrong." "I prefer amazing," said Maurice. "Anyway, who are you, asking me questions in the dark?" All he could smell was rat. He heard a faint sound off to his left and just made out the shape fuck of a very large rat creeping toward him. Another sound made him turn. Another rat was coming from the other direction. He could only just see it in the gloom. A rustle ahead of him suggested that there was a rat right in front of him, slipping quietly through the dark. "Here come my eyes." "What? Cat! Cat! Kill!" Oh, and then it's the end of What the fuck? So the rats are being used, and I still can't explain all of it. You have rats being stolen and caged, and all of the food being stolen. Why hire a piper or care about? Oh, I don't understand yet, Sam. I'm so close, but I don't get it. All right, I'm going to go write, and I get to read another one of these later today. I'll get back to that. Thanks, Sam Tarvergan. This is a lot. All right, see ya.